All right, let's do it. Jody-Lee, how are you? Welcome to Spark TV.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be here.
I know, when I saw your bio pop up and I looked at your business, I was just so excited to chat and share your story. 25 years in business. I bet you've seen a bit.
I most certainly have. And it's, I don't know, it's been an interesting year saying that out loud to people, 25 years in business, and we've done, some different activities around it. But yeah, it feels like yesterday in some respects, but on the other hand, I don't recall life without it. And it makes me feel really old saying 25 years in business.
Oh my gosh.
When did that happen?
I know, it just goes so quickly, doesn't it? It's incredible.
Does. Yeah, it sure does. And, like you said, what we've seen in that 25 years, even from technology and obviously staffing and trends and the economy and our environment, it's certainly been a roller coaster ride.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's a roller coaster on the best of days, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Amazing. Well, look, let's start by sharing your story. So obviously your creative agency, redhotblue, is incredible. So talk to me about that. So talk to me about what your business does, but then maybe how you got here. So was there a career beforehand, other businesses? How did you land on this business?
Yeah, so redhotblue is a creative agency and we look after everything from design, marketing, advertising, web, digital communications, and also event management. So there is an event management arm to the business because, we're not busy enough.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to sleep.
Yeah. Look, our client base is very diverse. So we've worked with, startup entrepreneurs, and we love that space because we love being able to be there from the get-go and work with them and watch them grow and, see them go on to achieve success and their goals. But we've also got, clients who have national and some even global presence. And across probably every sector you can think of, from government, obviously a lot of mining and engineering around the space in where we live in Mackay region. But, retail, education, hospitality, there's a whole broad scope to what we do, which keeps the job and the work we do very interesting, of course. I've got an incredible team of people, and, that really, I love what I do. I always have. And I also am a big believer, I think, when you stop loving what you're doing, maybe it's time to move on. But I feel very blessed that I get to get up each day and work with an incredible team of people. And obviously over 25 years, I've seen people come and go.
Yeah.
But, some of them that I still keep in touch with all these years later, who have gone on and traveled and come back and been married and had children. And
wow.
So it's really special. I guess for us and for me, it's always been about our big why, which is on the wall behind me, which is create without limitations.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. Yeah.
And that's very much been the driving force of, nothing is impossible. You've got to keep challenging yourself, and it's what we love to do. And it's, I guess, why we attract the clientele that we do as well. So yeah.
That's a fantastic life philosophy as well, right? Like anything is possible. I love that for business. I love that for life. I love that for clients. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I very much, often when I'm interviewed or speaking, I attribute that to my dad. He and my mum and dad, they don't come from a creative family, so to speak, but they always made me feel like anything was possible. So I think when you've got that sort of backing, and at the age of 23, when I kicked off redhotblue, the world was my oyster.
Yes.
You're invincible.
Yes. Oh, I remember the days.
I know, right? So, and I guess I still hold really true to that value when we're working with clients, is that they come in and they may have been misguided in their marketing journey by other agencies, or they've just never embarked on working with an agency, and to see them start understanding that there is, achievable goals that can actually happen is really exciting. That's where the real joy is. Yeah.
Oh, that is incredible. So, okay, so 23, what made you start the business?
Yeah, look, in high school, I was always the left of center person in school, not afraid to, walk to the beat of my own drum or dance to the beat of my own drum in my own, dorky kind of way. And had a real passion for photography.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so back in the day, pre-digital, where you'd go to the dark room. So I'd actually, wag my maths 1 lessons and go and spend time in the dark room.
Awesome.
But I guess this was pre-digital days. And so going to the careers officer and saying, what can I do with art? It was, I'll be an artist. And I thought there's got to be more to it than this. So, without the ability of technology and the old QTAC books that you flicked through to find out what you could do, I stumbled across a college in Brisbane called Design College Australia, and I went and did a 1-week school holiday workshop, and this whole new world opened up to me. And I went, oh my gosh, I know what I want to be. I want to be a graphic designer. I understand what I can do. So right back into those school days, I just always knew I wanted to have my own business. So the desire and the dream and the vision was always there. After studying at college, I started up a business with 2 mates I went to college with, and absolute dismal failure.
Perfect. You've got to have those runs on the board, I think.
Exactly. And it was 2 guys I went to college with. One of them still one of my very dear friends, and I was groomsgirl at his wedding. So very special bond. But yeah, learnt so much, learnt the hard way. But it didn't deter me. I thought, that's just been a lesson. I'm young enough to bounce back from this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, moved back home to Mackay and worked at the local newspaper in the art department there. So I'd actually worked there straight out of high school as a press photographer.
Oh, okay, cool.
A year straight out of high school before I went away and studied. And that was throw you in the deep end. Here's your assignments, here's the keys to the car, go get the photos, have them back on my desk by 5 o'clock.
Wow.
But I've always been someone who loves setting high standards and then working towards achieving that. And sometimes that does mean jumping in the deep end.
Yes. Sometimes I think that's the best way to learn, though. It's kind of like, I feel like if we're protected a little bit, we don't force ourselves to get out of our comfort zone and explore. And sometimes absolutely. Just going sink or swim, you swim.
Yeah. And I think if there's that drive, you're going to, look, you may not get to the end as fast as what you could with experience and knowledge, but you learn so many lessons along the way. And I think for me, that's been part of the incredible joy of all of this journey is what I've learned, and through some amazing people. So, came back to Mackay with the view that I would work a couple of years in a job, and I would set up my own business. And that's exactly what I did. So 2.5 years into writing all the advertising and producing all the ads for the newspaper, I launched Red Hot Blue in mum and dad's rumpus room.
Yes, so good.
Yeah. And I often laugh that I realised it was time to go and get my own office when, dad would come down to the rumpus room and want to be able to get to his, computer, and he'd be like he was at a boot camp, sort of stepping over all my projects. And mum's ironing board became where I filed things. So she'd be like, Jody, I need to iron. So right, time to get my own office. But that's where it all started, in the rumpus room at mum and dad's. And and then grew from there. And mum actually worked for me for 10 years.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah. So she looked after all the accounts, because obviously being a creative, I was like,
whatever. Surely the money takes care of itself. Yeah.
And clients would be saying to me, Jody, are you going to send an invoice for this? I'm like, I'll get to that. But I was too focused moving on to the next job. So mum came on board and did 10 years with me. And it was amazing. It was very special. Yeah.
That is so incredible. It's just so fabulous, having that opportunity to have a place to get started in the rumpus room, have mum and dad on your team supporting you. It is so special when you have that kind of support system around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's interesting, like being a mum to 2 teenage girls, and what I see across that age group is there's such a lack of self-belief, I think, people, and even not just their age, but even adults.
Yeah.
And it often fascinates me because I think if you back yourself and you know where you're going, then I've found with excitement and enthusiasm, people follow and people want to be a part of that, and you attract that. But you've got to, I guess, believe enough that this is where we're going for people to, feel confident that they're on the right road.
Yeah, exactly.
And as I said, learning along the way is part of the excitement. I've often said to the team, mistakes aren't bad. They're only bad if we don't learn from them.
Yes. Yeah.
But making a mistake is often sometimes the greatest lesson in life, because you do learn the hard way and you think, I'm never doing that again.
Totally. And it's really interesting. I feel like, some people are scared to make mistakes and because I guess they don't know what will happen, but you're spot on. If you treat it as a learning experience, I mean, I found my best customers are after mistakes. So, we've stuffed something up, but because we've owned up to it and then gone above and beyond to fix, they're like, oh, okay, now we know what you're like in a crisis situation or after a mistake. And so they're, with you for life. I think you can, if you reframe the word mistake, there's beautiful opportunities in it.
Yeah, and it's so true. We often, our creative director here, he often says, that the testament of a good company is not how they are when they're doing well. It's when something goes wrong, how do they deal with that situation? We're exactly the same. We want to be transparent and honest. We're about building relationships with our clients. It's not transactional for us. It's about, we're excited on this journey. And I think because of what we do, and we believe we do it well, it's about diving in and understanding that organization. So what makes them tick, and what's their culture, and what's their appetite to change, not just here's another person in that same industry, let's slap on some color and find a picture and good to go.
Exactly.
It's not how we function at all. So yeah, when you build that relationship and you feel a part of that organization, then honesty comes hand in hand with that.
Yeah. And it's really interesting as well. People often talk to me about sales and the sales process and acquiring customers, but I just love what you've just said about building relationships. It's just all about building relationships. And I feel like, it sounds like that's been the key ingredient to a 25-year success story.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's so funny when people ask the questions and you've got to really dig deep and break it down when it's something that you just do either instinctively or because it's part of your core value system.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. It's, we genuinely have an interest in people. And I personally do, people for me are my oxygen. So I get so excited when it's every single client for me is a blank canvas, a fresh landscape to sort of go, right, well, what's their journey look like? And, how do we help them and support them? And so it's very much about the people. And obviously the fact we get to create and produce, inspiring, creative and all sorts of work is that's the icing on the cake. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. And I assume too, that would proliferate through your company and to your team and the culture as well. If you from the top are talking about building relationships and really caring and being invested in people, that would translate, I assume, into your team as well.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's really touching when you see a team member on their own accord, go the extra mile or do something that's just really, just a beautiful gesture. For a client, you think, oh, that's what we're about here.
Yes.
And that's been an important ingredient for me with Red Hot Blue is the right team. So yes, we have high expectations with skill set and we want to, you know, attract the best of the best. But I have happily said goodbye to people who have sat in front of me with amazing portfolios or incredible experience because I've just felt they're not the right fit for the team. Because I want people to love their work environment. And, you know, you're always going to have those tough, challenging days.
Yes.
It's like, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you want it to be a place that people have got each other's back. And I see that all the time. And it's just, you know, it's really lovely. And just even some of the beautiful gestures that clients, you know, send us flowers and thank yous for things we've done just as we do for them, you know. So we have Grace, who became our accounts person. She worked for me for 15 years and then she retired a year and a half ago, but she still keeps coming in. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and brings us goodies and all sorts of things. But she was our resident cupcake baker.
Oh,
and so
cool.
part of what we used to do for clients, if they, you know, had finished a project or we knew that they'd done well in an award or someone had had a baby, is we'd package up freshly cooked cupcakes, and of course with all the Red Hot Blue orange branding and the sticker and a little note, and they were actually baked by somebody from here. So we went down to that level of not bought from the shop. Yeah, so, you know, I think all those things really go a long way in, you know, building, like you said, relationships and longevity. You know, we've had some clients that have been with us for 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty special.
That's amazing. So how do you, I mean, I assume there's going to be an element of it that's your personality and your leadership, but have you picked up any tips along the way for attracting and hiring people that are aligned with your values?
Oh yeah, look, it's, to be honest, it's one of the hardest things. I think everyone says recruitment, right?
It's not my favorite topic.
and we're in Mackay, so we've got that added challenge up against us, to be honest, in that being regional. And it's been interesting though, because through COVID, I think we've seen quite a shift of people wanting to leave, you know, sort of the city scenarios and be in a regional location, because we did still have quite a bit of freedom during that period of time. But yeah, it's definitely one of the most challenging parts, I think, of being in business. But I guess, you know, the things that we do and what probably appeals to people is making sure that we don't just talk the talk, but walk the walk. So everything we are telling our clients to do, we aim to do ourselves with our brand, so that when we're marketing for ourselves, that people are seeing those sorts of things, and not just on a superficial level, on that really deep-seated level. And the things I aim to do for my team, whereby I may not be able to match, you know, the same wages that cities can do, but really give them that work-life balance. So that real flexibility, you know, making sure that what's important to them is listened to, and then we look at how do we make this work. Yeah. So, yeah. And, you know, look, I've worked with some amazing mentors in my time who have really helped me to sort of learn that the business acumen side of things, because as a creative, when you're starting out,
I know, well, that's a really interesting
process and procedure and all those things. It was like, you know, boring. That's not important, I'm moving on to the next project. But when you start, I guess, employing people and you have more and more people, that's incredibly important, that it can't just live up here.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And so talk to me about mentors, because I think that's really important. I think especially in the early days, when you're a small business owner, you're wearing all of the hats and you're, you know, waking up in the morning, coming down to your home office and going, oh my God, well, I don't even know where to start. I feel like mentors are really powerful. You know, they can kind of be that sounding board. They help you, you know, fill skill gaps, all of those good things. What have you, I guess, sought out in a mentor, and how did you find them, and what was that like for you?
So my first mentor, and he stayed like I worked with him for 3 years. So we were named top 5 in the state in 2003 for the Telstra Small Business Awards, which was very exciting.
Yeah.
And I flew the team to Brisbane and we got a limo and, you know,
oh my God, that's so cool.
It felt very special.
Yeah.
So he actually was one of the judges, and I always say he took me under his wing and he said, no, Jody, you just latched on and didn't let go. But what I loved about Darren was that he said to me, I'm more than happy to help you, Jody, but there's 2 conditions. He said, 1, if you don't know something, you tell me. You're honest. I don't want you to deliver a creative version of what you think it is. I want you to be honest with me. Yep. And secondly, if I give you homework, you must do it.
Yeah.
And so I just soaked that up because I thought, here's a man with an incredible mind, and he's going to be able to teach me so much. So it was just, and I still keep in touch with him. He's retired now and he's in a different state, but I still keep in touch with him and I hold him very dear because I think to give me, you know, when we all know how time poor the world is and people are, to have gifted me not only his time, but his knowledge. And I do believe it was because of him that Red Hot Blue was able to thrive and grow, because one of the things I learned that stays with me today is this whole, you know, juggling and multitasking, and it doesn't exist. Hustling. It just means we don't really do anything particularly well. We're doing lots of it, but lots of it at various levels, and delegation was the biggest thing. And it sounds so funny now because I don't have an issue, but my team used to come and say to me, Jody, we haven't got much work. And I'd say, okay, and I'd have all my jobs and I'd go, oh no, not that one, not that one, not that, that one. Okay. And they'd walk away with 1 each and I'd still have 20 in front of me working.
Isn't it funny?
Working till midnight. And then we can do more. Oh no, it's like, and it was so funny. And that letting go, and part of that, it was a massive learning for me because it had been my baby. It had been my brand. It had been what I grew. And I was like, I know I can do it quicker and faster and I understand the client. But what he taught me is he said, that's as big as it's ever going to grow, Jody.
Yes.
So, and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to take longer and things aren't going to be how you would have done it. But this is the opportunity to learn and grow. So because of that skill, it did allow Red Hot Blue to flourish and grow and bring on more people. And so I really hold him very true and dear for so many things that he taught me. I've then moved on over the years. As I said, that was 2003, so a long time ago. But we've worked as a team, you know, with neuroscience. So a lot of so understanding, I guess, how different people naturally function versus how you may need them to function in a group. I think it's a really powerful thing to be able to understand that and navigate that space. So worked in that area, and I have a real fascination for it because our eldest daughter has Asperger's, so on the autism spectrum. So she was diagnosed at 3 and she's 16 now. So we have done a lot of extensive work in that area. And part of that is just the mindset of a person and how they see and perceive the world and process things. And that's very much like a team of people, to be honest.
Yeah. And it's so important. I was chatting to my partner about this on the weekend because he'd just done one of those, you know, personality tests for a team building thing. Yeah. And it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people don't get that opportunity in their life. And when you work for a company that values everyone understanding their personalities, everyone understanding how other people work and their personalities, it really helps you become more self-aware as to how you operate, but then really helps you connect with other people in such a more meaningful way when you understand that their value systems and the way they approach things might be different to you. And that's not a bad thing.
Exactly. It's incredible. And I think because of that learning I've had with our daughter, and how that impacted, you know, on the family and friends and just the approaches and strategies we had to take, it made it, I guess, a lot easier for me then to sort of go, well, actually, that's very adaptable to the work environment too. And so that fascination of neuroscience came into play. And I witnessed it firsthand with my production manager back in the day, and we're still really good friends now. She's in travel, but she was very much the yellow red, and on the, you know, so very much detail, finishing, you know, all of that, things in boxes.
Yes.
All about communication, creativity, vision, you know, people. And so you had two very different people trying to approach, say, the one project, coming at it from very different angles. And we would lock heads at times. And she, you know, I'd go in and say, I've got this great idea. And she'd just shut the book because she'd think, you've lost me. So what I learned, and seeing it firsthand when you start applying it, when I could understand how she operated, I would go to her with a plan and say, I've got this idea, but this is how I think we could go about doing it. And these are the things I've thought of, and this is the end thing. And all of a sudden, our relationship changed, and she was more, I guess, supportive and welcoming of ideas that previously she'd just shut down, because for her, that was just, it didn't make any sense. There was no linear path.
Yeah.
Mine was like Mr. Squiggle, you know.
That's right. You're like, I can see it all in my head.
I know the beginning, I know the end, we'll get there.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a, you know, by numbers, you know, dot by numbers. So, so to experience that firsthand was actually quite amazing, and realizing that then how harmonious you can have a work environment if you can understand those things. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's so important, because even as just making that transition from business owner to team leader to boss is super hard. Like going from that, I did everything, all of the processes are in my head, I don't have to deal with anyone and their personalities, and then moving to, you know, the first person, thinking they'll work as hard as you will. No, you know, it's really steep learning curve, I think, for early stage founders to go on.
It's huge, isn't it? And one of the other things Darren taught me, my mentor back then, he said, you know, like he was teaching me all these things, and I was excited about, let's make it happen, let's implement this. And he said, Jody, your team are not going to embrace this as quickly and as enthusiastically as you. And I'm like, why?
Why? Yeah.
You're telling us that this is a better way to do it. Yeah. Do it. Yeah. And he explained to me, do you know what I mean? Like that everybody, like you said, have got different ways in which they're going to approach things. And so therefore some of those personal experiences they may have had are going to mean that they're going to adapt things at different time frames, and needing to process and understand where they fit in the puzzle if it's changing a little. And so it was exactly what you're saying. All of those things that you go, oh, whoa, okay.
Yeah. We're going to have to approach this in a different way. Yeah.
What do you mean? I just want to know, make it happen. It is an interesting journey, isn't it? Because all of a sudden, like you said, it's not just about you and your vision, but it's about how can I bring everybody on this journey with me, but allow them to feel confident and safe, and that, you know, they are valued, and that their opinions and views might be very different to mine.
But they matter. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's 25 years. I've certainly worked with a diverse group of different people. Yeah.
No, I love that so much. So what do you think, reflecting on that 25 years, has been one of the, I guess, game changers? You know, you've had lots of advice, you've tried different strategies, you know, you've obviously grown the product suite over time. Has there been any moment along the way where you've gone, that's that thing that we did, or that learning has really changed the game for us in business?
Yeah. There's probably a few sort of, you know, I guess, markers. Where you sort of go, oh, wow, that was a very different era to what this is. Because obviously, again, sort of that pre-digital space. I mean, I was using computers, but we weren't using, like, email communication wasn't obviously to the level that it is now, and phones and social media and all those sorts of things. But I'd probably say one of them would definitely be in that awards space, where in 2003 we got recognised. So there was the Telstra Awards. I won Young Manager of the Year with Australian Institute of Management. And so what it did was the media coverage we got from that, it really elevated, the awareness and credibility of what we do. Because I think the hardest thing in our space, in the creative industry, is people just think we're drawing pretty pictures.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, cool, you get to have fun and what a creative environment. And you're like, yeah, but the fine line you walk is making sure that you maintain an environment where people can truly thrive and grow and be creative and have inspiration, but also the professional side of things.
Yeah.
And we're not just creating pretty pictures. Everything we do has purpose and intent. So it's that peeling back the layers and really diving in and finding what that marketing message is. And that takes time, and it takes the ability to look at things through fresh eyes and take the blinkers off that clients often have. So by being recognized through those awards, it really catapulted Red Hot Blue into this space of people, wow, they obviously know what they're doing.
Know what they're doing, yeah.
So that was a really big moment for me. And then obviously off the back of that, having this mentor teach me so much. I would probably say then, obviously, when we went into the event management side of things too. So again, that brought in a very different scope of work and exposed us to some really big clients. So we've grown, you know, some events from absolutely nothing to huge events that have been, you know, recognised across the nation. And even through COVID, a charity event that I was a director of for ovarian cancer because of a past employee and friend who passed away from it.
Wow.
But prior to that, she came to me and said, will you help me do something? And so we grew that from nothing. It got recognised by the national organisations. They would come to Mackay. It ended up being over 800-seat event in a park under a massive marquee.
Cool.
And then with COVID hitting, when other events were just shutting down, I said to the team and the committee, no, we can't lose momentum. We can do this. We've just got to reframe our thinking. And so we basically wrote a 3-hour TV show, created sets, like TV sets in, you know, like a vacant shop that the landlord I knew. And we had like Sunrise reporter Bianca Stone. She flew up and was our MC. We did live crosses across the nation to, you know, sporting heroes and celebrities and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so just the ability, I think, to say we can do this, and that whole digital space allowed us to do it. But by being able to be nimble and not be blinkered by some of the challenges that were around us. And that's that whole create without limitations. You know, I come back to that every time. It's like, yes, COVID's upon us. Yes, we can't hold an event with 800 people. We can't even hold an event with 50 people. But how do we do this? And so we donated over $400,000 in the 5 years.
Wow.
And in that year alone, when we had no live auctions, no merchandise that we could, you know, do, no raffles, which is where ticketing, we still raised $100,000 during a pandemic, purely by taking the message out across the nation. So, yeah, you know, that's probably another big part to the business, where showing people just what was possible through thinking differently. And we have the little tagline, intelligent creativity, because the creativity for us is a given, but it's the intelligent approach we take to things.
Yes,
and that strategy. So, but yeah, look, the digital space obviously is a a big game changer, and good and bad. You know, I sometimes reflect on the way in which things were done in the past, and we've conducted what's called creative minds, which were workshops for teenage students, and we bring them in for a week into the studio, and we don't let them have one digital device that whole time.
Wow.
We say the ideas come from here.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start going down that rabbit hole of Googling, you lose where that vision was headed. So start with the idea and build from there.
I think that's just a great business tip. People should be doing that in their business. Just go, I've got a, problem to solve, or I'm thinking about strategy for next year or whatever it is. Taking that time to actually switch off and see what comes out of here.
I was one of the keynote speakers at an event in Brisbane recently. It was called the Big Ideas Summit for Queensland Independent Schools. And I spoke, so I'm like, it's called the Big Ideas, and what am I going to do? But I actually got them to think about inside the box. And I said, we all talk about thinking outside the box. Let's talk about inside the box. And what I challenged them to do was to start with the core of that idea. And I gave them little cardboard boxes, and I said, I want them to, and it was branded Red Hot Blue. And I said, I want you to take these away and put them on your desk or in your offices or your classrooms or wherever it may be. And every time you're starting to lose, I guess, connectivity to what that original idea was, go back to the idea you put in the box and see if you're on track with it. Because if you've got the core of an idea, you can grow from there. But if you're just grabbing things because it's the latest trend or it's the next shiny thing that came up or that looks pretty, there's no substance to it. It was quite ironic that it was Big Ideas Summit, and I went, I'm going to talk about inside the box.
It's incredible though. It's when we can challenge ourselves to tackle a problem differently, I think that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see too often, I guess, businesses that we work with where they haven't actually got down to their brand promise and their why. And therefore, they're wondering why customers aren't able to connect with them, because we're like, well, if you can't simply deliver what your brand promise is, how do you expect your customers to do it? So build on those messages. And I think that's Red Hot Blue for 25 years. Like, I've always come back to our why, which is create without limitations. Jody-Lee,
you are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for spending your time with the Spark community. Those insights and that wisdom is phenomenal. Thank you for being so open with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I know we could talk all afternoon.
I know. I wish we could talk all day. I love it.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely. Yes.